Hey everyone, I'm back with part 2 of PGBP chapter question answers from ICA StudyMate. The PDF link is given in the description. You can download the PDF link and solve the sum. Okay, do watch the video till the end. Don't forget to subscribe the channel and also click on the bell icon for more updated videos. Okay, as we all know that in my first part of PGBP, I've covered 10 illustrations, and in this video I'll be covering illustration from 11 to 16. That is only 6 illustrations I'll be covering in this part. Okay, so let's start with illustration number 11. The following are the particulars in respect of a scheduled bank incorporated in India. So it is an Indian bank. Provision for bad and doubtful debt under section 3617A up to assessment year 1920 is 100 lakhs. So it is a provision for bad debt, as you know that only to banks provision for bad debt is allowed. Okay, and to no other persons carrying on business provision for bad debt is allowed while calculating the business income. Only provision for bad debt allows in respect of banks. Okay, gross total income of assessment year 2021 before deduction under section 3617A is 800 lakhs. Aggregate average advance made by rural branches of the bank is 300 lakhs. Bad debt actually written off for the first time in the books of accounts in respect of the urban advance only during the previous year 1920 is 210 lakhs. Compute the deduction allowable under section 3617 for the assessment year 2021. As I said that provision for bad debt is allowed only to banks. Okay, and in respect of Indian bank, 8% of GTI is allowed as provision for bad debt, and 10% of aggregate average advance made by rural branches of the bank is allowed as provision for bad debt. That is, two provision for bad debt allowed, 8.5% of GTI and 10% of aggregate average advance made by rural branches. Okay, so the bank has to maintain in this provision 3617A, it is written that bank has to maintain only one provision for bad debt account in respect of these two provisions. Okay, they cannot maintain two separate accounts, they have to maintain a single account. Okay, and any bad debt, actual bad debt arises, they have to debit the provision for bad debt account. Okay, and when the actual bad debt arises. So if any actual bad debt arises in excess of the provision which has been allowed, then the actual bad debt in excess by actual bad debt will be allowed under section 3617, that is bad debt. Okay, so let's see how the solution goes. So in this sum, provision for bad debt already has been created with rupees 100 lakhs in the assessment year 1920, and in this year provision for bad debt will be created with rupees 800 into 8.5%, that is 8.5% of GTI, that is coming to 68 lakhs. And in respect of aggregate average advance, 300 lakhs into 10%, that is 30 lakhs. Total provision for bad debt will be created with rupees 98 lakhs. Okay, total provision for bad debt amount will be at the end of the financial year 1920 will be 198 lakhs, that is 100 plus 98, that is coming to 198 lakhs. And during the year 1920, actual bad debt arisen is 210 lakhs. So excess amount is coming to 210 minus 98, that is 12 lakhs. 12 lakhs will be allowed under section 3617. Okay, hope you have understood. Let's see the solution. Computation of deduction allowable under section 3617 for the assessment year 2021. Particulars rupees in lakhs is given. Bad debt written off for the first time in the books of account is 200 lakhs. Less credit in the provision for bad debt, provision for bad and doubtful debt under section 3617 as on 31st March 2020. Roman 1. Provision for bad and doubtful debt under section 3617 up to assessment year 1920 was 100 lakhs. Current year provision for bad and doubtful debt under section 3617 is 8.5% of 800 lakhs plus 10% of 300 lakhs. That total is coming to 98 lakhs. And total amount created to provision for bad and doubtful debt account is 198 lakhs. So this provision has already been allowed, 100 in previous assessment year 1920 and 98 in assessment year 2021. So total 198 has already been allowed to the banks, and actual bad debt is written off is 210 lakhs. So 12 lakhs provision for 12 lakh actual bad debt will be allowed under section 3617, as 190 has already been allowed, so only 12 lakhs will be allowed under section 3617. So deduction under section 3617 in respect of bad debt written off for the assessment year 2021 is 12 lakhs, so it will be allowed under section 3617. Okay, that was asked in the question. It is done. Now moving to illustration number 12. ISAC Limited is a company engaged in the business of biotechnology. The net profit of the company for the financial year 31st March 2020 is 35 lakhs 25,890 after debiting the following items. So these are the items which has been already been charged to profit and loss account. Purchase price of raw material used for the purpose of in-house research and development is 11 lakh 80,000. So as we all know that SCC who is engaged in manufacturing or biotechnological business, then in respect of revenue expenditure it will get deduction of 150%, okay, under section 35 2AB. So in this respect 11 lakh 80,000 150% deduction will be allowed, but whereas they have charged to PL only 11 lakh 80,000 only, that is 100%, so 50% more deduction will be allowed in this case. Okay, next, number 2, purchase price of assets used for in-house research and development. That is, purchase of asset is land is 5 lakhs and building is 3 lakhs. As it is said in section 35 that in respect of land deduction is not allowed. Okay, any purchase price of assets, any amount of capital expenditure is incurred on land, no deduction is allowed under section 35, but in respect of building 100% deduction will be allowed under section 35(1)(4). Okay, so 5 lakh will be added and 3 lakh we don't have to do any treatment as it has already been charged to profit and loss account. Okay, now expenditure incurred on notified agricultural extension project. Okay, that is 25 lakhs 50,000. So as you all know that it is in respect of agricultural extension project 150% deduction is allowed only to all SSC. Okay, 150% deduction is allowed, but in respect of other than land and building, in respect of land and building no deduction is allowed. Okay, and other expenses we 150% deduction allowed. So in this is 25 lakhs 50,000 150% deduction will be allowed, whereas they have charged only 100% deduction, so 50% more deduction will be allowed. Moving to point number 4, expenditure on notified skill development project. Purchase of land 40 lakhs, expenditure on training of for skill development 32 lakhs 50,000. So in respect of skill development project it is allowed to only to companies, so it is a company, so it will get the deduction, but in respect of land and building no deduction is allowed, and in respect of other expenditure 150% deduction is allowed. So purchase of land of 40 lakh which has been debited to profit and loss account, it will be added back, and in respect of expenditure on training and for skill development 32 lakh 50,000 150% deduction will be allowed, whereas they have charged only 32 lakh 50,000 100% deduction they have claimed, so 50% more deduction will be allowed in this case. Okay, and now point number 5, expenditure incurred on advertisement in souvenir published by political parties 75,000. This deduction will not be allowed, as it is written in section 37 that to business to company deduction is not allowed in this case. Expenditure incurred on souvenir published by political party, no deduction is allowed to any person carrying on business, but in respect of this it is a company, so it will get the deduction under chapter 6A, that is under section 80 GGB. Okay, it will get 75,000 deduction under section 80 GGB, that is chapter 6A. Okay, now let's see what the question is asking. Compute the income under the head profit and gain of business or profession for the assessment year 2021 of ISAC Limited. They are asking to compute the income under the head profit and gain for business profession for the assessment year 2021. Okay, so let's see the solution. Computation of profit and gain, computation of income under the head profit and gain of business or profession for the assessment year 2021. Net profit as per profit and loss account 35 lakhs 25,890 it was given. Now items debited to profit and loss account but to be disallowed. The purchase of price of land used in in-house research and development being capital expenditure not allowed as deduction under section 35. As I said, it was in point number 2. As I said that in respect of land, no capital expenditure incurred on land, no deduction allowed under section 35, so it has been disallowed and it has been added back. And purchase price of building used in in-house research and development being capital expenditure, 100% of which is allowed under as deduction under section 35(1)(4), read with section 35(2). So as I said, in respect of building, 100% deduction is allowed and they have already been allowed, so no adjustment is required. Okay. Now, expenditure incurred on notified agriculture extension project to be treated separately. They will treat it separately. They are adding back 25,50,000 and afterwards they will deduct 150% of that. That is 25,50,000 into 150%, that is coming to 38,25,000. They will deduct it afterwards. Okay, they will treat it separately. Expenditure incurred on notified skill development project, purchase of land being capital expenditure not qualify for deduction under section 35 CCD. So as I said that on 40 lakhs no deduction will be allowed, as in respect of skill development project, expenditure on land and building will not be allowed as deduction, so it has been added back as it was charged to profit and loss account, so it will be added back. And now next one, expenditure incurred on notified skill development project, expenditure on training for skill development, it will to be treated separately. So they are adding back 32,50,000 and on will do 32,50,000 into 150%, that is coming to 48,75,000. They will reduce it afterwards. They will treat it separately. First they are adding it entire amount and afterwards they are computing 150% on that and they are deducting total amount, that is 48,75,000 will be deducted afterwards. Okay. Expenditure incurred on advertisement in the souvenir published by political party not allowed as deduction under section as per section 37(2)(b). Okay, so 75,000 is not allowed as I said and it is added back. So total addition is 103,75,000, 103,75,000. So total amount is coming to 139,890,000. Okay, so now they are deducting what should be the amount should be allowable. So purchase price of raw material used for in-house research and development qualifies for 150% deduction under section 35(2)(ab). Since it is already debited to profit and loss account, balance 50% is allowed. So as I said, it was in part 1 mentioned, so 150% deduction allowed, and whereas they have claimed only 100%, so more 50% deduction is allowed. They are deducting that only. Okay. Now expenditure incurred on notified agriculture extension project qualifies for 150% deduction under section 35 CCC. So as I said, 38,25,000 will be allowed as on that 150% deduction is allowed. So on 25,50,000 they have taken 150% and it is coming to 38,25,000. And respect of expenditure incurred on training for skill development in notified skill development project qualifies for 150% deduction under section 35 CCD. So on 32,50,000 they have computed 150% and they have deducted the amount of expenditure 48,75,000 and total expenditure after is 92,90,000 and profit and gain from business coming to 46,10,890. Okay, this is a profit and gain from business profession. They have not done any treatment for 75,000. They have given a note for that, as it is asked in the question that we have to compute only profit and gain from business. Okay, so what is the note says? The expenditure incurred on advertisement in the souvenir published by political party is disallowed as per section 37(2)(b) while computing income under the head profit and gain of business or profession, but the same would be allowed as deduction under section 80 GGB from the gross total income of the company. As I said that under 80 GGB 100% deduction, that is 75,000 will be allowed. Okay, so they have written the note. Okay, hope you have understood illustration number 12. Now moving to illustration number 13. Delta Limited credited the following amount to the account of the resident payee in the month of March 2020 without deduction of tax at source. Okay, what would be the consequence of non-deduction of tax at source by Delta Limited on this amount during the financial year 1920, assuming that the resident payee in all the cases mentioned below have not paid the tax, if any, which was required to be deducted by Delta Limited. Okay, hope I understood that Delta Limited has credited to the resident pay account in the month of March some amount which is mentioned down. Okay, so but it has not deducted any tax on that. It was required to be deducted, but it has not deducted. And whereas the payee also has not paid tax on the amount on which Delta Limited was required to deduct tax at source. So let's see what is the amount which has been paid by Delta Limited to the resident payee. Salary to its employee credited and paid in March 2020 is 12 lakhs, and director's remuneration credited in March 2020 and paid in April 2020, that is 28,000. Would your answer change if Delta Limited has deducted tax on director's remuneration in April 2020 at the time of payment and remitted the same in July? Okay, so as we all know that whenever any amount is paid to any resident, okay, then if the amount is on which tax was required to be deducted and it has not been deducted, then disallowance will attract if any amount is paid to a resident. Okay, so 30% deduction will be disallowed. So let's see how the solution goes. Non-deduction of tax at source on any sum payable to resident on which tax is deductible at source as per the provision of chapter 17b would attract disallowance under section 40A IA. Okay, it will attract disallowance under section 40A IA. Therefore, non-deduction of tax at source on any sum paid by way of salary on which tax is deductible under section 192 or any sum credited or paid by way of director's remuneration on which tax is deductible under section 194J would attract disallowance at the rate of 30% under section 40A IA. As I said, whenever any amount is paid to non-resident on which tax is deductible at source and it is not been deducted, so disallowance will be attracted at the rate of 30% of the amount. Okay, and it will be allowed and disallowed under section 40A IA. So in both these cases 12 lakh and 28,000, in both the amount 30% will be disallowed. Okay, whereas in case of salary, tax has to be deducted under section 92 at the time of payment. As we have studied in TDS chapter, that whenever any amount is paid to any employee, then tax has to be deducted at the time of payment. Okay, so salary is paid to the employees in the month of March 2020, so it was required to be deducted, but Delta Limited has not deducted, so disallowance will be deducted on 12 lakh, 30% will be disallowed. Okay, so let's read it once again. Whereas in case of salary, tax has to be deducted under section 92 at the time of payment. In case of director's remuneration, tax has to be deducted at the time of credit of such sum to the account of the payee or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier. So in this case, in the case of director's remuneration under section 194J, tax was required to be deducted and there is no limit in this case. Whenever we pay any director's remuneration, the company pay direct remuneration to directors, then there is no limit on that. So on entire amount 30 tax has to be deducted under section 194J. Okay, so they have not deducted tax at source, so on 28,000 will compute 30% and that will be disallowed to Delta Limited. Okay, a sum to be credited to the account of the pay, which in case of director's remuneration, tax has to be deducted at the time of credit of such sum to the account of the payee or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier. So tax has to be deducted whichever at the time of payment or crediting the amount. So Delta Limited has credited the amount in the month of March financial year 1920. They have credited the amount, whereas they have paid the amount in the paid to director's remuneration in April 2020. So tax was required to be deducted in the month of March itself, that is financial year 1920, whereas they have not deducted, so 30% will be disallowed in this year, as it is said that at the time of credit of the sum or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier. So earlier is crediting of the amount, that is March 2020, so disallowance will attract. Therefore in both the cases, that is salary and director's remuneration, tax is deductible in the previous year 1920, since salary was paid in that year and remuneration was created in that year. Okay, therefore the amount to be disallowed under section 40 AIA while computing business income for the assessment year 2021 is as follows. Profit and gain from of business and profession. So particulars, amount paid and disallowance under section 40 AIA 30 at the rate of 30%. Salary, tax is deductible under section 92. Amount paid is 12 lakhs, so 30% is coming to 3,60,000. This amount will be disallowed in respect of salary. And director's remuneration, tax is deductible under section 194J without any threshold limit. So on 28,000, 30% will be 8,400. So total disallowance under section 40 AIA is coming to 3,68,400. Okay. Now let's see what it says. If the tax is deducted on director's remuneration in the next year, that is previous year 2021, at the time of payment and remitted to the government, the amount of rupees 8,400 would be allowed as deduction while computing the business income of the assessment year 21-22. So it was asked in the question that would your answer change if Delta Limited has deducted tax on director's remuneration in April 2020 and at the time of payment, and in April 2020 at the time of payment, and remitted the same in July 2020? That was the answer for this. That if the tax is deducted on director's remuneration next year, that is previous year 2021, at the time of payment and remitted to the government, the amount of 8,400 would be allowed as deduction while computing the business income of the assessment year 2021. Okay, hope you have understood. In case SSC fails to deduct the whole or part of tax on any such sum but is not deemed as SSC in default under the first proviso to section 201(1) by reason that payee, this condition if it is satisfied, then Delta Limited would not have been treated as SSC in default. That is, that such payee, number one, has furnished, this all condition must be satisfied, has furnished his return of income under section 139, that is on time limit, that is within the due date, it has furnished the return, that is payee, to whom that salary and remuneration is paid by Delta Limited. And number two is has taken into account such sum for computing income in such return of income. Okay, and if the payee has taken that amount which was paid by Delta Limited, it has taken into account that sum. Okay, and the third part, has paid tax due on the income declared by him in such return of income, and the payer furnishes a certificate to this effect from an accountant in such form as may be prescribed. Okay, so these three conditions must be satisfied, that is payee must have filed the return on or before the due date. Okay, and that second part is that payee has taken the amount which was paid by payer. Okay, they have taken that sum into while computing his return of income. Okay, and it has paid tax on due on that amount which was required to be paid, and the payer, that is Delta Limited, would have to furnish a report from a chartered accountant. It should be they have written accountant, they have to furnish a report certificate from a chartered accountant. Then Delta Limited will not be treated as an SSC involved. It would be deemed that the SSC has deducted and paid tax on such sum. So it would be deemed that SSC means Delta Limited has deducted and paid the tax on such sum. So it will not be treated as SSC in default. Okay, now see, the date of deduction payment of tax by the payer shall be deemed to be the date on which return of income has been furnished by the payee. Okay, the date on which deduction payment of tax by the payer, okay, shall be deemed to be the tax on which the return has been furnished by the payee. Okay, since the date of furnishing of return of income by the payee is taken to be the date on which payer has deducted tax at source and paid the sum, 30% of such expenditure or payment in respect of which the payer has failed to deduct tax at source shall be disallowed under section 40IA in the year in which said expenditure is incurred. Okay, in the year in which the Delta Limited has incurred the expenditure, in that year the expense will be disallowed, and in the next year in which the payee furnished the return, in that year 30% expenditure deduction will be allowed to the Delta Limited. However, 30% of such expenditure will be allowed as expenditure deduction in the subsequent year in which the return of income is furnished by the payee, since tax is deemed to have been deducted and paid by the payee in that year. Okay, hope you have understood. There is a circular. If you want to read, just you can read it. Not so important. Now moving to illustration number 14. During the financial year 1920, the following payment or expenditure were made or incurred by Mr. Yuvan Raj, a resident individual, whose turnover during the year ended 31st March 2019 was 99 lakhs. Okay. Interest of rupees 45,000 was paid to Rahman and Company, a resident partnership firm, without deduction of tax or source. So in this case, Mr. Yovan is not required to get his accounts audited because his turnover is below 1 crore. Okay, so it is not required to deduct tax at source under section 194A. So in this case, if he has not deducted TDS, no liability will arise to Mr. Yovan Raj, as it was not required to deduct tax as his threshold limit, as he was not required to get his accounts audited, as section 194A says that if a person is required to get his accounts audited, okay, then only he can deduct tax under section 194. Okay. And number 2, 3 lakh was paid as salary to a resident individual without deduction of tax at source. But section 192 says that any amount paid by any individual, by any employer to employee, then in which tax is required to be deducted, then the employer has to deduct tax at source, and there is no criteria that whether the employer is required to get his accounts audited or not. It is required that in case of salary, TDS has to be deducted whether the employer is covered under tax audit or not. Okay, so in this case, as it has not paid, so it was the liability to deduct tax at source, but it has not, but Mr. Yuvanraj has not deducted. So let's see what they will be asking, and we'll see the consequence accordingly. On third part is commission of rupees 16,000 was paid to Mr. Vidyasagar on 2nd July 2019 without deduction of tax at source. Okay, in this case also it is section 194H. Okay, in section 194H, any amount paid by any resident individual HUF and if it is not required to get his accounts audited, as his turnover does not exceed 1 crore, so then it cannot deduct tax at source under section 194H until unless his accounts is required to be audited. Okay, so in this case, since its turnover is less than 1 crore, so it's not exceeding 1 crore, its accounts was not required to be audited, so it was not liability to deduct tax at source under section 194H. So there is no tax liability in the third part. Okay, and we'll see the solution accordingly. Briefly discuss whether any disallowance arises under the provision of section 40IA of the Income Tax Act 1961, assuming that the payee in all the cases mentioned above have not paid the tax, if any. Okay, which were required to be deducted by Mr. Raja. Okay, so in this case, only in second part, that is Roman 2, that was 3 lakh paid as salary to resident individual, in that case tax was required to be deducted and 30% disallowance will be made. In the second part, that is on 3 lakh, 30% is coming to 90,000, so 90,000 disallowance will be made under section 40A. Let's see the solution. Disallowance under section 40A of the Income Tax Act 1961 is detected where the SEC fails to deduct tax at source as is required under the act, or have having deducted tax resource fails to remit the same to the credit of the government within the stipulated time. Okay, let's see Roman 1. The obligation to deduct tax at source from interest paid to resident arises under section 194A in case of an individual whose total turnover in the immediately preceding previous year, that is previous year 1819, exceeds 100 lakhs. Thus, in the present case, since the turnover of the SSC is less than 100 lakhs, he is not liable to deduct tax at source. Hence, disallowance under section 40 AIA is not attracted in this case. So, remember that we have to check the turnover limit of previous year for the purpose of tax audit. Okay. So in the previous year, as in the previous year 1819, it was not required to get his account audited, so it was not required to deduct tax at source in respect of that amount under section 194A, so no disallowance will attract in this case. Roman 2. The disallowance of section of 30% of the sum payable under section 40 IA would be attracted in respect of all sum on which tax is deductible under chapter 17B. Okay, section 192, which requires deduction of tax at source from salary paid, is covered under chapter 17B. The obligation to deduct tax at source under section 194(2) arises in the hands of all SSC employer even if the turnover does not exceed 100 lakhs in the immediately preceding previous year. So in this case, tax was required to be deducted, so 30% disallowance will attract. On 3 lakh 30% is coming to 90,000, so 90,000 will be disallowed. Okay, therefore in the present case, disallowance under section 40 IA is attracted for failure to deduct tax at source under section 192 from salary payment. However, only 30% of the amount of salary paid without deduction of tax would be disallowed. Okay, 90,000 disallowed. They have not mentioned that amount. You can mention that amount as well. So obligation to deduct tax at source, and third part, obligation to deduct tax at source under section 194H from commission paid in excess of 15,000 to a resident arises in case of an individual whose total turnover in the immediately preceding previous year, that is previous year 1819, exceeds 100 lakhs. So in this case it is not exceeding 100 lakhs, so it was not required to audit it, though the amount paid is exceeding 15,000. So but it was not required, SSC was not required to get the accounts audited, so we cannot deduct tax at source. Thus in the present case, since the turnover of the SSC is less than 100 lakhs, he is not liable to deduct tax at source. Mr. Raja is not required to deduct tax at source under section 194M. There is a new section 194M. So Mr. Raja is not required to deduct tax at source under section 194M also, since the aggregate of such commission to Mr. Vidyasagar does not exceed 50 lakhs during the previous year 1920. So in section 194M it is said that whenever any amount is paid to any payee and the amount of commission paid to payee is exceeding 50 lakhs, then only tax is required to be deducted under section 194M. Okay, so the amount is not exceeding 50 lakhs, so no tax is required to be deducted under section 194M also. Therefore, disallowance under section 40 AIA is not attracted in this case. Okay, hope you have understood this illustration as well. Now moving to illustration number 15. A firm assessed as such has paid rupees 7,50,000 as remuneration to its partner for the previous year 1920 in accordance with its partnership deed, and it has a book profit of 10 lakhs. What is the remuneration allowable as deduction? So we have to compute the remuneration which is allowable deduction. You all know the provision, that is on first 30 lakhs 90% is allowed, and on balance 50 lakhs profit 60% is allowed, and the total, that is the maximum amount. Okay, so let's see the solution. The allowable remuneration calculated as per the limit specified in section 40B5 would be on first 3 lakhs of the book profit 90%, that is 3 lakh into 90% is coming to 2,70,000. On balance 7 lakh of the book profit is 60%, that is 7 lakh into 60% is coming to 4,20,000. Total allowable remuneration is 6,90,000. So whereas the actual remuneration it has been paid is 7,50,000, so excess 60,000 will be disallowed. So the excess amount of rupees 60,000, that is 7,50,000 minus 6,90,000, will be disallowed under section 40B5. Okay, it was simple. Hope you have understood. Now moving to the last illustration of this part. 16. Rao and Jain, a partnership firm consisting of two partners, reports a net profit of 7 lakh before deduction of the following items. Okay, this is the profit. Okay, before deduction of the following items, let's see what are the items. Salary of rupees 20,000 each per month payable to two working partners of the firm as authorized by the partnership deed. So 20,000 per month to per partner. Okay, and per month per partner, and the total partner is two working partners there, so we'll compute accordingly. And depreciation on plant and machinery under section 32, that is 1,50,000. Depreciation should have been allowed, and depreciation will be allowed. And interest on capital at 15% per annum as per the deed of partnership. The amount of capital eligible for interest is 5 lakhs. So as you all know that interest on capital, only 12% of the interest on capital is allowed as deduction in respect of partnership firm. So on that I will compute 15%. First, what they are compute, number one, book profit of the firm under section 40B of the Income Tax Act 1961. First you have compute the book profit, and the second part, allowable working partner salary for the assessment year 2021 as per section 40B. So let's see. As per explanation 3 of the to section 40B, book profit shall mean the net profit as per the profit and loss account for the relevant previous year, computed in the manner laid down in chapter 4D, as increased by the aggregate amount of the remuneration paid or payable to the partner of the firm if the same has already deducted while computing the net profit. So we have to compute the book profit. For realizing the book profit, we have to add back the remuneration if it has already been charged. So in this case, remuneration has not been charged to profit and loss account, so we have to compute the book profit, and we have to compute the remuneration which is allowable, okay, under section 40B. So in the present case, the net profit given is before deduction of depreciation on plant and machinery, interest on capital of the partners, and salary to the working partners. Therefore, the book profit shall be as follows. Computation of book profit of the firm under section 40B, net profit before deduction of depreciation and salary and interest, that is 7 lakhs. Depreciation under section 32 is 1,50,000, it was given in the question. And interest, I said 12% will be allowed, so on 5 lakhs 12% will be allowed, that is coming to 60,000. Interest at the rate of 12% per annum being the maximum allowable as per section 40B, that is 5 lakh into 12%, that is 60,000. Total amount is coming to 2,10,000. So book profit, that is 4,90,000. 7 lakh minus 2,10,000 is coming to 4,90,000. That is the book profit. Okay, now we have to compute the allowable remuneration. Salary actually paid to the working partner is 20,000 into two partners into 12 months, that is coming to 4,80,000. Actually paid to the working partner is 4,80,000 to both the partners in total. Okay, as per the provision of section 40B5, salary paid to the working partner is allowed subject to the following limit, that is on first 3 lakhs of the book profit, or in case of loss 150% or 90% of book profit, whichever is more. Okay, and on the balance profit 60% of book profit. Okay, so let's see. Therefore, the maximum allowable working partner salary for the assessment year 2021 in this case would be on first 3 lakhs of the book profit, that is 1,50,000 or 90% of 3 lakhs, whichever is more, that is always be 2,70,000. In case of loss, we'll do 1,50,000, but it is a profit case, so on 3 lakh it will be 90%, it is coming to 2,70,000. On the balance of the book profit 60%, that is, or 60% on 1,90,000. On 1,90,000, 60% will be 1,14,000. So total maximum allowable partners remuneration 3,84,000. Hence, allowable working partners salary for the assessment year 2021 as per the provision of section 40B5 is 3,84,000, whereas the company they have paid 4,80,000. So 96,000 would be disallowed if it would have been charged, but in this case they have not charged to profit and loss account any remuneration, so allowable remuneration will be deducted in the profit and loss account. Okay, so allowable remuneration is 3,84,000. Hope you have understood all these 6 illustrations. Okay, so that's it with part 2 of PGBP. If there is any doubt, write me on the comment box. Don't forget to subscribe the channel and also share with your friends. Do click on the bell icon for more updated videos. Okay, do subscribe the channel. And one more announcement, anyone willing to solve the ICAI indirect tax questions, please click on the link given in the description box. Okay, thank you, stay healthy, bye bye.